So I wanted this to be one of my last messages before I die of a mixture of what my father, mother did to me, mold exposure, exposure to outside elements, and all that. In 3 days, if I stay, I will continue getting hurt. There's a senile old man who's not getting help. Just today alone, he's pooping all over the floor. There's fire hazards. And when I leave him alone for even 10 minutes, all of a sudden there's 5 hours of work. I have multiple injuries, and the doctors around here are doing very little, only because my father will not work with me to help take responsibility for his actions. And his wife, who killed herself with mental illnesses, alcohol, and pills, some of the decisions she made are still hurting me to today. I'm going to need some type of assistance from Concord. I do not see anybody, the Department of Health and Human Services. I've not heard any phone calls from code enforcement. I've gone down recently, and I'm very happy to hand them videos and pictures. They don't seem very interested in taking them. So I'm going to have to live outside in Concord, not by choice. If I stay here, I will die. Now, David probably will die while I'm gone, but I'm coming back to check on him some way to swing by if I'm still alive myself. But if I'm outside for too long, I will get hurt. So I need a place that's at least safe. This place is obviously not safe for anybody to live here, and it wasn't safe when we moved in. Well, I shouldn't say we. When David was given this apartment, or found this apartment with Mark Harrington, who knew the landlord and knew the situation here, there was no doorknobs. That's not safe to have the front door with no doorknobs. Anybody could walk in. There was waterfalls coming in. I've fixed some of them so there isn't gallons coming in. There was mushrooms coming up through the floor, leaky pipes, bed bugs in the room. They all were here. When the upstairs neighbors sprayed for bed bugs because they brought the landlord to court, we got flooded with bed bugs. So we were going to do the same, but the landlord agreed that if we gave him money, he would take care of it. 3 years later, we're still living in a studio. We had 6 months of release. We threw away everything we owned, got rid of all the furniture. The landlord says, no, 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 keep the couch. And then we have Mark Harrington's friends going, hey, come and pick up beds here. Come pick. I said, no. We did not pick up any furniture after the spraying. And yet, we got covered in bugs. David was having welts because he's allergic to the bites, and I have seizures and neurological disorder that causes me to shake and lose my speech and movement if I have stimulus, like cold below 55, 50, around that 55 or lower. Even 60 bothers me if it's a little wind. If I live outdoors, I will not survive. But I do not see a choice. I will not survive in this apartment. I've paid good money to be here. The attorneys are in Concord. The Supreme Court is in Concord. The shelters are in Concord. Every single thing that is necessary is in Concord. Now, after the landlord was caught on Ring camera, kicking me in the injured kidneys where I'm urinating black, punching me in the GI, he took away all transportation, all money, and all my ability. I had trouble speaking, walking. I was stuck on the floor for a long time. I was recovering. I even called my boss 3 days prior to this, whatever you could call it, a hate crime, because there was hate speech involved, because he knew I was injured, and because he knew there was a chance I would die from these kicks. You could call it manslaughter or murder. If I die soon from my kidneys or GI, then yes, it would be murder. But also, you got my father, who's intentionally trying to avoid responsibility as he knows something happened. The whole family knew something was going on with Patricia. You even got Alice pretending like she knows something when she doesn't. That's my father's new side piece. That was my mother's best friend. But they only vacation together. They don't know them in their 60s and 50s. Now remember, you go through two big change. Well, according to the doctors and the professionals, you go through two big changes in your life. One at 40, one at 60. People change over time. My father that I know, and this is my foster father that my mother adopted. Now, don't forget, my foster father slash adopted father made it clear he wasn't my father. He goes, I don't know why you like me so much because I did, I'm not your father. Stuff like that constantly. You want to know why I like my father? Because it wasn't abusing me, drugging me, and I wasn't in extreme pain or feeling weird or having my body change. Now, I didn't know what these things meant, but I knew that when my mother gave me pills and I lost my vision and I lost the ability to feel my nervous system and I went unconscious and lots more stuff happened and I woke up and then the week after I'm sucking my skin. The week after that, teachers are calling me in the hallway asking me about this sudden change in my nervous system. And I'm asking the doctor, what this all means. And then my mother takes me to Texas. I knew that something was hurting me, but my mother called it an allergy attack and wouldn't let me get care for it. I didn't know what that meant at 7 years old. I did not know that the things my mother was reporting to psychiatrists were bad, would have lifetime consequences. If my mother, I even asked the psychologist, please stop letting my mother tell stories about me. I don't like these stories being told about me. She's lying. She's lying. Please stop having her lie about me. Then my mother and father would give them money. And you don't bite the hand that feeds you. Now the landlord wants to make money off of me, and they're using senile behaviors to try to win a case. They are literally using a senile old man who has no lawyer. He has me as his healthcare proxy, and nobody will even talk to his doctor in mass. They say they don't gotta listen to a doctor in mass. They won't answer the phone. They play phone games. They're purposely putting my life at risk. They might not realize that their actions can result in a death, but they know what they're doing is bad. And they're trying to just continue to save money at the expense of other people. So my only chance for survival is to ask for help in Concord. There's even the hate crime division down there. Most likely I will die on somebody's doorstep, and I know the hospitals will not help me. Not because the doctors won't see something wrong. Oh boy, will they see something wrong. Just like when the blood was pooling in my testicles, they could see something wrong. Just like when my urine went from blackish green to really, really, really dark brown, but my liver is fine, and so we know it's not liver, and nobody seems to know what the fuck it is. I've been trying to get liver treatments for about 10 years now, and they play separate games with that, and plus, hepatitis is something that's very common. And I could have got it from a shelter. I could have got it from trying to stay alive in somebody's apartment. Having multiple seizures outside is not good. So if somebody gives you heat, you have to take it. So what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to die here in the mold, in the waterfalls, while I know I'm getting sicker, while I know Frisbee Hospital isn't going to do shit? I mean, they had me all bleeding with my face swollen. There's still blood in the bedroom. I have a scar on my face from that one. I had 3 nurses around me calling the medical board on the doctor, all this type of shit. Releasing me an hour after I arrived. The doctor's words were, "This is too weird. Release him." And he had nurses coming up to him going, "He's talking about something really bad. We should do something about this." And no, get rid of him. So there was a lot of that going on at Frisbee. Well, how about Wentworth Douglas? Well, they want to listen to my emergency contact. Now, I told them to only give what's the information to my emergency contact, who is my 89-year-old father. Do not take information from an 89-year-old who wants to get away with something, who my mother, his wife, died while drinking with liver failure. When this type of stuff is allowed to continue, you know this guy does not care about my health one bit. He claimed during my whole childhood he didn't care about me. Why would that change now? So I made it very clear Do not take any information from this guy. You're only to give it. But instead, they want to base my health care. I'm the patient here. Instead, they want to listen to a guy who doesn't spend any time with me during my whole entire, well, spent some time with me, but it wasn't like he was actually conscious or listening to me or trying to figure out what was going on with me. It was more like, I'm going to do whatever my wife says. If my wife says this is okay, then it's okay. If my wife wants to steal my son's medicine one time, it's okay. If my wife wants to drink a martini with 20% of her liver working, it's fine. I'll walk to the kitchen. Stuff like this has gone back all the way to the age of 5, 7, around there where the darkest time of my life was. Now, I am not asking for anything big. I'm asking for a goddamn piece of paper and epilepsy medication when I came up. Now they've allowed my body to get destroyed by a landlord. And if you don't believe me, just watch the fucking Ring camera footage. And that, for every one video I got, there's 100 I didn't get. And all I need him to do is make this apartment safe, not only for us, but for other people. But then he plays games with a senile old man. Like, for instance, he had David steal my money out of a drawer without my permission. I gave him permission to give the landlord money with a receipt 2 years prior, once or twice. Then he's using that old permission that was verbal that nobody else heard to steal my money. I showed up to pay you the rent. You canceled. I took a day out of work to show up a second day. You canceled. I told you you could come in the morning. You didn't. Then you come by having a senile old man do that, steal my money, don't get a receipt, don't get a lease. It's one trick after another, and it's affected my mental health. I don't think I will stay alive much longer if I stay here. But I'm not going to have any phone. I'm not going to have any contact with my family. And honestly, if I am going to have to die, I'm going to go and take this up. Even if I have to take a train to Florida. I know how to panhandle money. I can make 100 in a couple days. And I can make 300 in a week. But I will feel guilty about asking people for money. So that means I need to finish this off. If I'm panhandling, it's only for one last deed before I die. I know I will die. I have bled enough and they brought me back to life. The doctors at Saints Memorial Hospital told me very clearly that if I kept going that way, I would die. They told me that I was pronounced dead on arrival. They told me I froze to death. They told me I had a seizure after only taking gabapentin the day before and running out. But the funny part about Triliptal for epilepsy, gabapentin, Ativan, CBDV, all of those things seem to make me better. Well, what do all four of those things seem to have in common? And they made me better at 13 years old, too. Yes, they gave me benzos at 13 years old, and I got better. Then they took them away, and I got worse. I had no idea what this meant at 13. But now that I am a grown adult, 32, I know what was going on for the last 25 years. I experienced an overdose because whenever my mother had to get her way, she slipped me pills into my medicine. I would get very tired or sick, she would get her way, and then that's it. Now, some of the symptoms were different depending on what she was slipping me. But the overdose, she wanted to change Batman off the TV because she's some cunt who wants to poison a child to get her way. I know this for a fact. Now, I still love my mother because she's my mother. But now that I know what she was doing to me, I have a lot that I need to handle, and it's a lot of work. But I don't get to handle it because there's another man out there who wants to not get caught. A lot of these rich people feel like they should continue down this road of trying to put the cost of their responsibilities on other people. Like this landlord needed new windows installed. That's window frames, not glass. He needed to remove bed bugs from 3 floors of apartments before we moved in, and he needed to replace pipes. But he didn't want to pay the money, so he decided that he was going to keep on letting his building fall out of repair, fall completely like disrepair, just all bad holes, gaping holes everywhere, at the expense of his tenants. Even when he wants to save a little money, he'll let the lights go out for months. He'll say, well, the maintenance comes and fixes it, doesn't he? 6 months after we've all complained for months, after you've had filing. Our water stinks like sewage, but he'll flush the pipes before a report comes in. Now he's trying to get the cost of the pipes all repaired, claiming his tenants are flushing stuff. It's very obvious that you had a problem and it's up to you to fix it, but instead he files with the courts to put the cost on the tenants, and the courts buy every word of it. Now he has something to gain by hurting us and doing these things to us. What did the tenants have to gain other than living in a shitty apartment for a little longer? We have the gain that we don't die later at the age of 38. Me, I had problems with a neurological disorder where I needed epilepsy medication and I needed paperwork on the last 25 years of what my mother and father did to me. Now, thanks to Rochester, New Hampshire, they sped up and finished me off. So we got a landlord, a senile roommate, a crazy ass mother that killed herself and is no longer alive, and an 89-year-old father slash adopted father slash a foster father who says he doesn't want to be a father ever, and he's not really my father. It was just for his wife so she could have a pet. Just crazy stuff like that. He said to the family and other people and to me, and then they'll put on a good little pretend show if you call. Or if you put too much pressure to them, then they say, talk to my lawyer. Yep, that's how they are. And they'll jump from state to state with me. They'll jump to state themselves. They'll try to avoid responsibility. So now I get to die. I get to die at the age of 32. If I stay in Rochester, I think they're really going to have me dead very shortly. I haven't heard